Jim, I know we're always asking people like you to reflect on things and look back, and you're always, busy with what's in the moment. You have a lot of things going on in your life. For something like this, when you're honored for your accomplishments, have you been reflective? Have you found that since the honor was announced the last couple days that you've been thinking about the past?
You really do when things like this occur. And you think about, gosh, when there's a coach in a Hall of Fame, it's totally different than when there's a participant, because you reflect about all 10 teams, all of the people who make up the entire fabric of what Ohio State athletics is about, specifically in our case Ohio State football, and whether it's your equipment managers or your fans or your media colleagues or your players, obviously your coaches' families, the faculty you got to know that were mentoring your young people. You do reflect back and you think about, wow, this is just like thousands of people being recognized for the 10 years they spent together, and it goes fast and it's a blur while it's happening, and as you say, life gets in the way and you don't sit around in a rocking chair thinking about those things. But when moments like this happen, you think about how fortunate you've been to, whether it's Jack Park writing about our history and then us teaching our student athletes about the history and the responsibility they have. And I ran into Paul Seringhaus' son over at the Blackwell today, and he was reflecting on how proud that 42 team was that they mentored our 2002 team, and you think, gosh, there were so many people a part of all the wonderful times, and here we'll spend an evening reflecting on how fortunate we all were to be together, and very proud of all that occurred.
How much do you miss? I know you're president of a university now and stuff, but how much do you miss being on the sideline on a Saturday afternoon? 25 years as a head coach, and many years before that.
Well, I was on with Lou Holtz and Jack Arute earlier today, and I was sitting in the Blackwell. And I said, I've been in the Blackwell on Friday afternoons many times, but I'm not nervous. This is kind of this is different. It's an amazing journey, as you go, and someday I'm going to sit down and just list every single person and every single thing that made up, the fun we had and the excitement that was created, but you do get busy in what you're doing, and so you don't get many chances. And Ellen was just asking me on the way over, as we were riding over, she was kind of asking me to reflect a little bit and all that. And coaching for 25 years, is a long time as a head coach, and there were games that I remember. Most of the games I remember we didn't do as well. They asked me last week about the YSU home opener, and we hadn't lost a home opener since 1995. And so thanks for reminding everyone that I was the head coach the last time we lost a home opener. But it's the thrill of competition is tremendous. The chess game and the whole bit on the sideline is fun. But as you guys know, the moment the game ended, we started thinking about what was next, whether it was the next game or going recruiting or getting ready for the bowl or whatever. So I guess I miss some of that, but fortunately there's a lot of things that you do that are fulfilling and can take on that excitement you had maybe if you're doing something different now.
Coach, you had some highs, you had some lows. How proud of your tenure are you, of your contribution as the caretaker of something that means so much in this state and region?
That is something I've reflected a little bit on, and I got an email from a friend of John Cooper's son from Tulsa just the other day, and he was saying some nice things and this and that, and I got to thinking about, there are blocks put into the extraordinary structure from every era, and I emailed him back. I said, don't forget about John Cooper Sr.'s era, and don't forget about Earl Bruce's. I saw Earl today, and he's been fighting through some health issues, and it was just was a thrill to see him. But our 10-year block in the extraordinary structure of Ohio State athletics and Ohio State football, I'm very proud of. There were a lot of neat things that occurred, and Jack could probably speak to it better than I could because he knows the history of all the eras, but they're all important. The time is different in each era. The challenges are different, the opportunities are different, and the results are different, but I'm very proud of what occurred during those 10 years.
The fans gave you a really warm welcome back in 2012 when you had your 10-year reunion there for the Michigan game. Just talk about maybe what you expect tomorrow and what impression that left with you, fresh in your memory from that day.
I think when our team was out there in 2012 and people were reacting to the 10-year reunion of that championship, what reminded me at that moment was going back to the joy that happened, in that time, and it hadn't been since 1968 or whenever, and getting letters from people saying, my life is complete now. I wasn't sure I'd ever see another national championship, and all those kinds of things. So, it was fun to see the reaction of the fans that, they obviously were, whether they were a part of Ohio Stadium during that season or just watched it from afar, they appreciated the efforts of that group, and heck, I don't know what I expect tomorrow, other than, I think our fans are appreciative of the 10 years that, that our teams represented them, they're from whenever it was, 01 to 10, I guess.
What was
Jack?
What one thing have you learned from football that's maybe helping you most as a university president?
Probably the fact that what's most important is the culture that you create, and the understanding that each and every position is important. There just happens to be more positions at a university. There's colleges and departments and majors and lots of different groups, lots of folks that work there and go to school there. But still, the same thing is true, is that there has to be a deep appreciation for each other. There has to be an effort to work on getting to know one another, even though you might not be in the same school of thought or come from the same background, and that's what I always thought was important about a team. We would bring students in of all ages, from 18 to 22, and all backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, experiences, different offenses, defenses. They played, coaches from different worlds, and what was important was you had to have them come together and make sure that they knew that each and every person was important, and that each and every person needed to be treated as if they're important, because they are. And the same is true in a large organization. The same is true in a small organization. Until you know that you're insignificant without every single other person, you can't reach your potential. And those are great lessons you learn in sport, because you can't succeed if that's not the case, and you can't succeed as an institution and do all the things you're capable of doing without first having that in place in a difficult world. I mean, it's a world where many times we want what we want, and we are interested in what we're interested in, and we have the thoughts about how we should go about things the way we think. But somehow you got to bring everyone together and say, we've got to put this together so we can all have the group succeed.
Jim, I know it's not up to you what people write about you or say about you in history. You do what you do in your career, and other people can reflect on it. But at a time like this, at a time of legacy and reflection, what do you think is the fair way, the proper way to put the context of the end of your career here at Ohio State in with your whole tenure here, as people reflect on the totality of Jim Tressel's experience at Ohio State?
I think all parts of what you're involved in are important. There's no question. You can't throw away in a game a fumble. You're just not allowed to do that. So I think in general people are fair about how they view totality of anything. But what's most important, and I've said it to you before, is that the people that you intimately worked with and you were trying to make a difference with, what's most important is how they feel about it. And I guess that's what's so thrilling about something like this weekend and the College Hall of Fame and all that is that's the people you worked with. And, you know, it's humbling that the Varsity O and their Hall of Fame, you know, felt like this era should be recognized.
Did
One more?
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned the national championship a little bit ago.
No, I think that was brought up by someone else.
Okay, it was brought up
Okay,
earlier,
that's-
but I remember you gave a rather long address in the recruiting room. This is prior to the 310 days, the day you were announced as an coach. And one of the things you said, I thought one of the highlights was you talked about you were going to give kids the thrill of getting a degree and putting a championship ring on their finger. You said it was something like that. Is that, looking back now, is that something you thought you should just say as the head coach at Ohio State, or did you really believe that was going to happen? Because obviously it happened and happened pretty quickly.
You know, I think that I believed and still believe that that's something that you should seek. And I was just with Antonio Smith and Terrence Stiles earlier today at the Blackwell, and Antonio gave me a copy of his book, Waiting to Fail. And a lot of his messages are about the fact that, you know, you've got to seek extraordinary things. You can't wait around and see how you might do. You have to challenge yourself and all the rest. And so, I felt that, you know, we always want to seek to be the best that we can possibly be. And that I always felt that Ohio State had the capability of doing all those things, but it would take a lot of work and it would take a lot of everybody. And so, you know, that's something that I say to my people constantly at Youngstown State is, you know, we have to make a decision of just how good we'd like to be. And I think if you don't do that, you don't have a chance to, you know, to reach your potential.
Can I ask one last quickie?
Of course.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Lori gets the last one.
Oh.
You get, okay.
Back to what you were talking about a while ago, I mean, getting invited into this hall and stuff. What does it mean to you to know that the guys that did that looked at you in a total sense and not just in the way things ended? You understand?
Sure. You know, that's what family members and teammates and so forth do. I mean, we all appreciate one another, you know, despite maybe some of the things that, you know, aren't as great about one another. And thank goodness, you know, thank goodness God has still got me on this earth despite, you know, the human frailties I have. And so, you know, it's, of course, that, you know, that feels good that, you know, that's the way they feel. And you know, that makes us feel good. All right, Lori, you always get the last one. Wait a minute, where's Marla?
She's covering Johnny Manziel.
Oh, is she big time now? She's big
Yeah,
time
she's
now?
covered
Okay,
Manziel.
all
I'm
right.
still small time.
Okay.
Whenever a baseball player goes into the Hall of Fame, there's a debate about which hat he'll wear. You're such a part of two different universities. As you go into not just OSU's Hall of Fame, but the College Football Hall of Fame, which hat would you wear?
Well, it probably occurs indoors, so I wouldn't wear a hat. I'm sorry, Laura.
That's okay.
You know, I would probably wear a red one. And, you know, I tell young coaches all the time, you know, it's really not where you coach, but it's with whom. And it was as much fun winning a championship and watching students grow and seeing them mature and so forth at Youngstown as it was at Ohio State. Not one, you know, more exciting than the other. And watching my dad's teams at Baldwin Wallace were as exciting in front of 2,000 people as 106,000 here. So, you know, I guess I would have to wear a hat that would, you know, have, you know, maybe both schools and maybe a little Baldwin Wallace in the back.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna bring Terrence up here real quick and then